Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhi Tamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. We are now studying the fourth sutra of the Brahma Sutra and the commentary of Bhagavad-pada Shankaracharya on this sutra. Refuting a previous objection, Shankaracharya says that all Upanishadic statements or all Vedantic statements, they talk about the eternal, omniscient, omnipresent, ever content, ever pure, ever conscious, ever free Brahma, which is Brahman, which is bliss incarnate, knowledge incarnate. So that is the nature of Brahman. That is the nature of Brahman. So if somebody were to ask, what is the nature of Brahman? Then the nature of Brahman is being presented by all Upanishadic statements, that it is Nityaha, Sarvagnyah, Sarvagataha, Nitya Triptaha, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhavaha, Vijnanam Anandam Brahma iti evam adayah. So in passages like the Taittiriya Upanishad, Vijnanam Anandam Brahma, we get the idea that Brahman is eternal, it is omniscient, it is omnipresent, and it is ever content, and it is of the nature of eternal purity, eternal consciousness, and ever free. Tad upasanatcha shastra drishtaha adrishtaha mokshaha phalam bhavishyati. Also, by contemplating on this Brahman, tad upasanat. So, by contemplating on the Brahman, shastra drishtaha, that which has been drishtaha, revealed, that which has been described by Shastra, here the Vedas, particularly the Upanishads. Adrishtaha mokshaha phalam bhavishyati. Here adrishtaha means unseen. Unseen means that which cannot be understood by the sense organs, that which cannot be cognized, perceived by the sense organs. That is moksha. That is freedom from repeated birth and death. Freedom from repeated birth and death. That is moksha. So adrishtaha mokshaha phalam bhavishyati. One gets the unseen result of moksha. So it is like hunger. Can you see hunger? No, you cannot see hunger. But all of us become hungry. If suppose I were to say that Shrubaji is hungry, I am saying Shrubaji is hungry. Why? Because I am saying Shrubaji is hungry. So she has to be hungry. No, that cannot work because Shrubaji will know when she is hungry. I cannot impose my idea of hunger on her. So that is something very experiential. And when you are hungry, there is no rhyme or reason for that. Sometimes you are just like that hungry. After having a full meal, you feel hungry. Sometimes even after having a small bite, you don't feel hungry at all. So it is a complicated thing, but it is experienced by us. And how your hunger has, whether it has got appeased, whether your hunger has gone away, whether you are now filled, whether your stomach is full. All these questions are, there is no universal answer to these questions. So similarly, we all know this joke. One person, he came to a competition of eating competition, and then they said that you have to eat 100 dosas, and then you will get a prize. Now this person said, oh, 100 dosas. Then he went away. Then after some time he again came and said, yes, I will eat. So the person, lanky, lean looking person, claiming to eat 100 dosas. So the organizer said, no, sir, you can't do that. You would not be able to do that. It's unnecessary waste of time. He said, no, I will be able to do. Then there was an argument. Then they said, how are you so sure? I just now went and ate 100 dosas. I already tested. So I know I can do. So we don't know. A person might eat 100 dosas and be ready for another 100. Whereas another person may not be able to eat more than 2 dosas. So this is adrishta hai. Adrishta means that which cannot be seen by the sense organs. Hunger is not exactly like that. Only thing is, it is experience. That experience is different for every person. Shastra drishta hai, though it is revealed by Vedas, but it is unseen by the indriyas, by the sense organs. And that is moksha, phalam bhavishyati. Why is it unseen by the sense organs? Because the bondage is also not seen by sense organs. That is the beauty. Bondage is also not seen by sense organs. We don't know that we are bound, because our sense organs cannot give us this information. That information is also given by the Vedas. And so, since we don't know that we are bound, we also don't know that we get moksha. So moksha also cannot be perceived. Only if you perceive bondage, you can perceive the state free from bondage through the sense organs. So because we cannot perceive bondage from sense organs, we cannot also perceive the freedom from bondage through sense organs. So sense organs don't give us any idea about our true nature. So Shankaracharya says, Kartavya vidhi ananupraveshetu vastu matra kathane hana upadana asambhavat saptadvipa vasumati raja asau gacchati ityadi vakyavat vedanta vakyanam anarthakya meva syat. So here, what is happening here is, this whole thing is the objection of the Siddhanti, that is Shankaracharya's objection, is being quashed aside by Mimamsaka. So here Mimamsaka wants to prove that whatever is given as a injunction or prohibition, only that is fruitful in the Vedas. Any other statement is of no use. So the moksha is the fruit of the contemplation on Brahman. So here what we have to do is, we have to do a karma. We have to do a Vedic ritual, that is contemplation on Brahman. And because of the contemplation of Brahman, we get the result, that is moksha. So that is why it is all very clear that contemplation is what is meant. And because the goal of the Vedas is to make you perform a particular action, here also it makes sense that the Vedas make you, or the Upanishads make you, perform the action of contemplation. So the Mimamsaka, they say that kartavya vidhi ananupraveshe, without involving the injunction to do a particular action, kartavya vidhi ananupraveshe, or in the absence of a connection of a particular injunction to do a particular action to vastu matra kathane, just by stating the presence of an entity, hana upadhana asambhavat. There is no possibility of rejecting something or hana or upadhana accepting something. And so it is like Sapta Dvipa Vasumati. It is like telling that the earth has 7 continents. Vasumati, earth, Sapta Dvipa, 7 continents. Or Raja Asau Gachati, there goes the king. Ityadi Vakyavat. So like sentences like this, Vedanta Vakyanam Anarthakyameva Syat. If Vedanta sentences or Vedantic statements, Upanishadic statements, are not going to tell us to do something or to not do something, if they are not going to instruct us to accept something or reject something, then they are anarthakya, they are purposeless. So this is the way to refute Siddhantin's statement, that is Shankaracharya's statement, that you don't need the injunctions or prohibitions in the Upanishads, because in the Upanishads one is given the particular knowledge of an entity which is already existing. Though the entity is already existing, nobody knows about it, and so that knowledge is valid. But that particular statement or that particular standpoint of Shankaracharya is being rejected here. The Mimamsaka philosopher or the person belonging to the Mimamsa school says that Anarthakyam Vedanta Vakyanam, that all the Upanishadic statements, all the Vedantic statements, they are purposeless. They are without any purpose. Why? Because they don't talk about something new. They talk about already existing entity. Nanu vastu matra kathane api rajjuriyam nayam sarpaha इत्यादौ भ्रांति जनित भीति निवर्तनेन अर्थवत्वम दृष्टम. So here Shankaracharya, who is the Siddhanti, who holds the standpoint of the Siddhanta which is being established by this commentary on the Brahma Sutras, that is Advaita Vedanta, he is saying Nanu, but. He is objecting to the earlier statements of the Mimamsaka philosopher, which we just saw. He's saying, but Vastu Matra Kathane api. So you are saying that, okay, the Vedantic statements or the Upanishadic statements, they talk just about what is already present. They talk about an already existing entity. So, okay, that's not a mistake, that's not a fault. What if there is some statement about already existing entity? Vastu matra kathane api. Even in the case of mere statement of something that is already existing. In the previous sessions we saw that is what happens when people, they go to nature, scenic beauty, means natural places like mountain, forest. They say, oh, see what a flower. So it's a statement about, it's an obvious statement about something already existing. Oh, see sunset, look. Oh, look at the beach. Here in Kozhikode we have beach. People go there and just look at the beach. Oh, see wave. Somebody is going on a boat. Hey, see, somebody is going on a boat. This is how, see how such a big wave has come. See, somebody is throwing a fishing net in the sea. So all these are useless statements because you don't have to do anything. I am reminded of Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens wrote this famous book, Hard Times. So in that book, in that novel, there is a classroom and the teacher comes And so on the classroom, on the wall, a horse is painted. So the teacher comes and says, actually it's a satire on industrialization, that novel. So he says, oh, you have horses on walls, but that is not correct. Horses don't run on walls, so you should not have horses on walls. So the Mimamsa position is like that. One should not do anything, one should not go behind anything that does not lead us to a particular injunction or prohibition. A particular injunction or prohibition. So either it has to make us do something or it has to prohibit us from doing something. Otherwise, it is quite purposeless. It's like an utilitarian approach. So here, Shankaracharya counters that particular standpoint. He says, Vastu matra kathane api, even though something is just stating the obvious, that is what is already existing. Rajjuriyam na ayam sarpaha. The statement like Iyam Rajjuhu, this is rope. Na ayam sarpaha, na. This is not snake. Iti adav. Such means starting with such sentences, means sentences like this. Bhranti janita bhiti nivartanena. By nivartana, removing Bhranti janita bhiti. Bhiti, fear, which is janita, born of Bhranti, delusion, wrong knowledge, which is born of wrong knowledge. So this is very common. A rubber snake people use. Nowadays, people are not doing all this. It's so sad because people have got so much caught into handheld devices. Handheld devices are now holding on the whole earth. Okay. Earlier, there was one advertisement, Karlo Dunya Muthi Mein. Means take the entire world in your fist, like that. So that means in the mobile phone, now the mobile phone has taken the entire world into it. It's the other way around now. So now nobody does this, all these things. Earlier, when we were children, we used to, even afterwards also, we used to enjoy such things. Buy a rubber snake. So that was a big thing. The shops used to sell these things, a rubber snake. So you take a rubber snake and some good imitations were available and you put it on a bed. When unknowingly your mother, when she is unwittingly coming and sitting, and then she will jump up, and then that makes the day and night and so on. So they're like, oh, you're afraid. And then jump what? Because it is so real. So Bhranti, false knowledge. You have thought that to be a true snake. Bhranti janita bhiti nivartanena. And so Bhranti janita bhiti. Bhiti, fear, which is born out of delusion. Now, some people might wonder why this snake rope illusion. I also earlier used to wonder why snake rope. These people did not get anything else, only caught this snake and rope. Then I came to know some things, particularly in the state of Kerala. So in the state of Kerala, it seems, there are a lot of snakes, at least there used to be. That is why many houses, ancestral houses, they used to have what is called a snake shrine. There will be a shrine dedicated to snake. And they will worship. Most houses used to have traditional houses. So before electricity came, people used to, electricity also did not come, and modern ways of grooming also did not come. They also were not there. So people, they used to simply tie their, women, they used to tie their braid, means they used to tie their hair using ordinary rope. So there was no ribbon and all that. The ordinary rope they used to tie. And this rope they used to, just after using or opening up the hair, they will simply throw here and there. So things were not very organized, it seems. So then what they will do, then suppose somebody's hair has to be tied, they will just search for rope and then they will tie. And if it is night time, then they will simply search for rope. Sometimes it so happened that instead of rope, they lay their hands on a snake. But the snake also knows that these fellows are only going to feed. So the snake also will go away. And so this is snake, like that they will take another rope and then they will. So the snake rope delusion was a everyday experience for these people. So I don't know now where from you will get this corroboration, whether this story is actually true. Actually, I got it corroborated, or I was told this story by great grandmothers. So now, so those great grandmothers are all long gone, but maybe in some literary pieces you may get, or some other people also might corroborate this. This used to happen in many houses, many homes, many families, and so this snake rope delusion makes much sense. So Bhranti Janita Bhiti. So this Bhranti Janita Bhiti, this fear which is arising out of delusion, is not restricted just because of restricted to snake or rope. There are modern sources of delusion and modern sources of fear. We have many. So because this statement of already existing entity, that this is rope, this is not snake, that does the work of removing the fear which is caused by wrong knowledge, false knowledge, delusion. It is arthavatvam, it is purposeful. Drishtam, it is seen that it is purposeful. What is the purpose? It is removing the fear caused by wrong knowledge. So somebody sees this and you say, yes, yes, yes. It is not snake, it is rope. Why are you just afraid? So people have different kinds of phobia. One way of treating a phobia, or one of the very effective ways of treating a phobia, is to expose that person to that phobia. For example, people have this phobia of dogs. So they cannot just see dog. They will start sweating and they will palpitate, and it can be really serious. So one has to take them near a dog and show them that, you see, it does not do anything. And then you slowly ask them to touch the dog, etc. So it's called implosion therapy or exposure. So that can reduce, that really is effective. It reduces the phobia. So that is purposeful. Now, if you say you're just showing a dog, everybody knows this is dog. What use does it bring? It of course brings the use, or it brings the purpose of removing that fear. Tatha, similarly, iha api, here also, that is in the case of Vedantic statements, asansari atma vastu kathanena, asansari atma vastu kathanena. By telling about the entity vastu, which is atma, atman or brahman, which is asamsari, which is non-transmigratory, which means which does not die and which does not get born, which does not get born and which does not die. It is not born, it does not die. That is what it means, non-transmigratory. If you say non-transmigratory, it doesn't make any sense. So that is why it does not die, it does not take birth. By saying that kathanena, sansaritva bhranti nivartanena, the delusion that I am a sansari. I am a sansari. So people have this delusion in a different sense. You tell any person, but Swamiji, for householders like us. So that's a huge delusion. Householders like us means what? What is the problem in being a householder? If householders were not there, how sannyasis will be born? Logical question. No sannyasi would be born without a householder. So what is this? Swamiji, we are only mere householders. Mere householder who is supporting all the other three ashramas. So all the ashramas, householder ashrama, grihastha ashrama, brahmacharya ashrama, sannyas ashrama, vanaprastha, everything is supported by the householders. Government is also supported by paying tax. Householders are supporting. So why householders? So that is what one thinks, I am a sinner. I am a sinner. Oh, papi. Sri Ramakrishna said, if you think yourself to be a papi, you will become a papi. That means you will not be able to get out of the trap. Only earlier this evening, I was telling a young boy, see, you are not a sheep, you are a lion. But the boy kept on insisting, no, I am a sheep. So the context was that you don't go so much behind your mother. You have an independent existence. So the 10-year-old boy said, no, no, I am sheep. I like to be with my mother. Then I explained it to him. And then finally he said, no, no, I am lion. Whatever he continues to be Homo sapiens sapiens. He's continuing to be a human being. He did not become a sheep or a lion. The point is, it's all because of delusion. And the delusion is that I am bound. If you think you're bound, you're bound. If you think you're free, you're free. What you think, you become. That is a statement of the Upanishads. And Swamiji said, whatever you think, you become. If you think you can't, you can't. If you think you can, you can. So Swamiji freely translated Upanishadic statements in a language people could understand. So the Sansaritva Bhranti, the delusion that I am bound. I am bound. So it's a delusion. Ignorance is a delusion. Even when you are ignorant, you are not bound. That is the point. Even when you are seeing a snake in the rope, there was actually no rope, no snake. Even when you are seeing a snake, there is no snake. Similarly, even when you are thinking that you are bound, you are not bound. But you are not knowing it. That's the point. So that sansaritva bhranti nivartanena, by removing the bhranti, delusion of being a sansari, delusion that I am bound, arthavatvam syat, it gives purpose. All these Vedantic statements, they give purpose by removing the fear which is caused by wrong knowledge, and by removing the delusion that I am bound. Now, again, there is another objection raised by the Purva Paksha, that is the opponent, who is against Shankaracharya's standpoint, that is against the standpoint of the Siddhantin, or against the standpoint of the Advaita Vedantin. Now, what is the objection? He's saying, or she is saying, we don't know. Mimamsaka is saying, Syad etat evam. Syad etat evam. Let it be so. Okay, whatever you're saying might be so. It might be true that by saying that this is rope, not snake, the wrong knowledge goes away. And the fear caused by wrong knowledge goes away. But yadi, if Rajju Swarupa Shravana Matrenaiva Sarpa Bhrantihi Sansaritva Bhrantihi Brahma Swarupa Shravana Matrena Nivarteta. So, okay, for an argument's sake, let us say that Rajju Swarupa Shravana Matreneva, just by hearing, Matrena, just by hearing, Shravana hearing, Swarupa, Rajju Swarupa, the nature of rope. So just by hearing that this is rope, Sarpa Bhrantihi Nivarteta, goes away. Or Brahma Swarupa Shravana Matrena Sansaritva Bhrantihi Nivarteta. So if it were possible that by so just by hearing, if somebody thinks that just by hearing about the nature of rope, or just by hearing the nature of Atman or Brahman, then by hearing the nature of rope, if the delusion or wrong knowledge of snake goes away, or if just by hearing the nature of Brahman, the delusion or wrong knowledge that one is bound, one is a samsari, one is bound in the transmigratory existence, that goes away. Nivarteta. Like that if one were to think. But natu nivartate, but that is not the case. Because we keep on hearing all the time. So many people might actually relate with this. They might say, yes, 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 it is true. From 20 years onwards, we are hearing that Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. We have heard this, so many lectures, so many books we have read and everything. Now only our eyesight is going down and knee pain and neck pain and headache and all those aches are all increasing, but we have not gone anywhere near to the truth that I am that, or Aham Brahmasmi. So even if you have heard about Brahman, the delusion that you are a transmigratory entity, you are caught up in the samsara, repeated birth and death, cycle of repeated births and deaths that does not go away. So even if you say that this goes away, similarly, if a person looks at a rope and thinks it to be snake, unless that person herself is convinced of it being not the snake, that delusion does not go away. That is why when a person has a phobia, other people are telling her it's nothing. People have fear of heights. There is a fear of height. So other person is going and saying, you see, I have come up here. There is nothing to fear, etc. Whatever that person may say, however many arguments that person may give, this person who has fear of heights would not dare to go up, climb. Not possible. So they will say, no, it's all right. For you, it is good. I will rather not. Okay. So that's how phobia works. So, natu nivartate. It is not true that this bhranti, delusion, goes away just by hearing. Shruta brahmano api yatha purvam sukha dukkhadi sansara dharma darshanat. Darshanat, because we see. What do we see? Shruta brahmana api means even after hearing about Brahman, yatha purvam, just like earlier, sukha dukkhadi samsara dharma darshanat. Sansara dharma, the properties or the attributes of being a sansari, that is transmigration, that is repeated birth and death. What are the characteristics of being a sansari or being caught up in transmigration? That is sukha dukkha adi. So things like happiness, sukha, dukkha, misery, suffering, adi, so on. So there are so many things. Raga, dvesha, attachment, aversion. In this manner, there are so many things. This chain of dualities. So we do see that these dual forces who are basically characteristics of transmigratory existence, it is seen that that is there even after hearing about Brahman. Even after hearing about Brahman. Why? Because it is not possible that once you hear about Brahman, everything goes away. It's not possible. And Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is being quoted now. Shrotavyo mantavyo nididhyasitavyaha. Shrotavyaha means the Brahman has to be heard. Mantavyaha, it has to be contemplated upon. Nididhyasitavyaha, it has to be meditated upon. So there is something called tavya suffix, that is the pratyaya, tavya. That means it's a condition, it is an order, it is an injunction. It has to be done. Iticha, in this manner, Shravana Uttara Kalayoho Manana Nididhyasanayoho Vididarshanat. So law point, they say, no, when an advocate gets a very critical point in argument, which favors one's argument. So this is law point, which is being brought out by the Mimamsaka. Mimamsaka is saying, oh, you are saying that after hearing the existence of Atman or Brahman, which is already existing entity, one gets rid of the delusion, false knowledge. So we have proof that it is not so. Because in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad itself, Shravana Uttara Kalayoho, Shrotavyaha, first one has to hear. So if after hearing itself, the delusion goes away, then why on earth Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is saying Shravana Uttara Kalayoho, after or in the time after Uttara, Shravana, after hearing, Manana Nididhyasanayoho Vidhi. There is the Vidhi or injunction of manana and nididhyasana. So if somebody has already understood just after hearing, then why would the Upanishad, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, give instruction that it's a vidhi, it is an injunction that there should be manana and nididhyasana, contemplation and meditation. So because darshanat, because we see that there is the injunction of contemplation and meditation after hearing about Brahman, that's why we can safely conclude that just by hearing Brahman, one cannot get the knowledge of Brahman. Tasmat, therefore, pratipatti vidhi vishayataya eva shastra pramanakam Brahma abhyupagantavyam iti. Therefore, it has to be abhyupagantavyam. It needs to be accepted. It has to be accepted that pratipatti vidhi vishayataya eva, only as a vishaya or object of pratipatti vidhi, object of the injunction, vidhi, injunction of pratipatti, contemplation. So Brahman, Shastra Pramanakam. Brahman has Shastra or the scripture or the Vedas as the Pramana, as the means of knowledge, only as Brahman being an object of the injunction on contemplation. So there is an injunction of contemplation. Shrotavya, mantavya, nididhyasitavya hai. So mantavya, nididhyasitavya. Contemplation on meditation. Nididhyasitavya hai, meditation. Contemplation is mantavya hai. So contemplation and meditation is being instructed, is being prescribed by the Vedas. And so Brahman can be considered to have the Shastras as its source of knowledge only as far as it relates to Brahman being the object of the injunction to contemplate or meditate on Brahman. So iti, in this manner, it has to be accepted. So it is not that Brahman is like, oh, Tattvamasi, so you are that. So that is not the thing. Here we will accept Brahman, Mimamsaka says, here we will accept Brahman to be the object of the karma or the ritual or the activity which is being prescribed by the Vedas. That is what Brahman is got. So this is now the objection which has been raised. This is the objection which has been raised. Now this objection has to be countered. This objection has to be countered, and Shankaracharya, he goes into a detailed counter. First he talks about a particular group of Vedantins. A particular group of Vedantins, that is a particular group of, say, you can also say Advaita Vedantins, particular group. So that particular group, who are the particular group? Earlier also we have seen, that is the Bhartru Prapancha group. Bhartru Prapancha group. So Bhartru Prapancha group, Upavarsha and Bhartru Prapancha group. So the Bhartru Prapancha preceded by Upavarsha, they had this idea and now they are bringing the objection. So Shankaracharya is actually quoting or citing the standpoint of people who preceded him. So he says, Atra abhidiyate. Here it is being said, na, no. What is no? That Brahman cannot be accepted merely as an object of the injunction of contemplation, the instruction of contemplation. We cannot just accept it only as an object of the instruction on contemplation. Why? Karma Brahma Vidya Falayoho Vailakshanyat. Karma Brahma Vidya Falayoho Vailakshanyat. Because there is the Vailakshanya. Vailakshanya means difference. there is this difference between, or the distinction between, the phala result of karma, karma means Vedic rituals, and Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of Brahman. So there is a clear distinction or marked difference between the knowledge of Brahman, the fruit of knowledge of Brahman, and the fruit of Vedic rituals. There is a clear difference. Because there is a clear difference, one cannot say that Brahman is only the object of contemplation, or only the object of an injunction to contemplate in the Vedas. That cannot be said, because the knowledge of Brahman, if one were to accept, okay, Brahman is only the object of the injunction or the prescription or the instruction, the command, the order of the Vedas to contemplate. If one were to accept only that is what Brahman has as its role, then how would you explain the fruit of Brahma Vidya, the fruit of the knowledge of Brahman, which you would get while you contemplate or meditate on Brahman? When you contemplate or meditate on Brahman, you will get the knowledge of Brahman. The moment you get knowledge of Brahman, all ideas of agency, all ideas of I am the doer, all ideas of experience, all ideas of I am the enjoyer or I am the experiencer vanishes. All ideas vanish. So when all ideas vanish, then you are no more the agent, you are no more the experiencer, you are no more the enjoyer, you are no more the doer. And when that happens, then how would you explain Brahman being only an object of an instruction to contemplate? Because then you lose your agency. So just by instructing someone to do something, how can you take that person beyond the very concept of doing something? That's the question. So that is why Brahma Vidya Phala, the fruit of knowledge of Brahman, is completely different from the fruit of performing Vedic rituals. In fact, if somebody performs a Vedic ritual, one does not go beyond the sense of agency. Rather, one can say that gets entrenched in the sense of agency. Agnihotram juhuya swarga kamah. That is the statement. So people who are desirous of attaining swarga, let them perform Agnihotra. So if a person performs Agnihotra, goes to swarga, then that person will, after some time, that merit or punya will go down, and then Shine Punye Martya Lokam Vishanti. That person will go down to the Sansara stage, that is, the person will get caught up again in the transmigratory existence, which was put on a pause when that person was in Swarga. So again, that person will have to then again crave for not Mukti, Punya. Again, if that person wants to go to Swarga, again one has to do Punya. So these Vedic rituals, they only emphasize and aggravate the desire to do something. So by performing Vedic rituals, one would not go beyond the idea of I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. Those ideas one will be entrenched in. Whereas Brahma Vidya, by getting the knowledge of Brahman automatically, not almost simultaneously, the moment you get the knowledge of Brahman, you are convinced, or you know that you are not the doer and the enjoyer. So that is why there is a distinction. Why Lakshanyat? Then Shankaracharya says, Shariram Vachikam Manasam cha karma Shruti Smriti Siddham Dharma Akhyam Yad Vishaya Jigyasa Athato Dharma Jigyasa iti Sutrita. So actions, karma actions, which are Shariram, means which are performed by the body, physical actions, Vachikam, which are spoken, that is actions of speech or where words are said, Manasam, actions at the thought level, thinking, cha karma. So those kinds of actions, three kinds of actions, They say manasa, vacha, karmana, etc. So, through your mind or thought, word, and deed. That is the idea. So Shruti, Smriti, Siddham, and it is told in the Shruti, Smriti, Siddham. Shruti means Vedas, and Smriti means different Smriti texts, different rule books, one could say, like Manu Smriti, Yagyavalkya Smriti, etc. So Shruti, Smriti, Siddham, Dharma, Akhyam. All these texts, those texts which are either Vedas or texts which are Smriti, which have been written by various people and which are like moral codes or rules, code of conduct. Those, both these Shruti and Smriti, both these kinds of texts, they talk about something called Dharma, Dharma Akhyam. So they talk about Dharma, and which is performed by Shariram, Vachikam, Manasam, which is performed by the body, Shariram, Vachikam by the organ of speech, and then Manasam by mind. And that is called Dharma Akhyam. So that means that which is supported by the Vedas, that which is supported by the Vedas, that karma. So here karma means Vaidika karma. Karma means Vedic ritual. Vedic ritual, that which is supported by the Vedas. Of course, Vedic ritual is supported by the Vedas, and which are called as dharma, as proper conduct. That about which jigyasa, of which the desire to know. So jigyasa is the desire to know. So here desire to know what? Desire to know action. Action, what kind of action? Action that which has been called by Shruti and Smriti to be dharma. Dharma means righteous action, correct action, or virtuous action, which will lead to punya. So yad vishaya jigyasa, of a jigyasa, the desire to know, that dharma, that action which is called dharma. What is proper action? That jigyasa, desire to know, is iti sutrita, has been put in the form of a sutra. Sutrita means has been put or has been composed in the form of a sutra. In the sutra, Athato Dharma Jigyasa. In the first sutra of the Purva Mimamsa or the Mimamsa Sutra, written by Jaimini. So Jaiminiya Sutra. What is the first sutra? Athato Dharma Jigyasa. So afterwards or thereafter, therefore, the need or the desire to know dharma. So adharma api himsadihi pratisheda chodana lakshanatvat jignasyah pariharaya. So adharma api, even in the case of adharma api himsadi pratisheda chodana lakshanatvat. So even in the case of adharma, himsadihi, actions like himsa means violence. Here it means killing. So actions like killing, etc. Pratisheda chodana lakshanatvat. So this is actions like killing, etc. are lakshanatvat, being characterized by, or because of it being characterized by. What characteristic? What is the trait? What is the attribute? Pratisheda chodana. It's a chodana means it is an injunction, it's an instruction, it's an order. But what kind of order? Pratisheda. It's a prohibitory order. It's an order saying what you should not do. So you should not do this. That is a prohibitory order. Jignasyah, that is the object which is supposed to be or desired to be known. Jignasya. So jignasya pariharaya, for the purpose of avoiding that. Tayoho chodana lakshanayoho artha anarthayoho dharma adharmayoho phale pratyakshe sukha dukhe sharira vangmanobhihi eva upabhujyamane vishayendriya sanyoga janye brahmadishu sthavaranteshu prasiddhe. So here there are two things. One is dharma, righteous action. Another one is adharma, unrighteous action. Dharma is virtuous action, also called punya. Adharma is opposite of virtuous action, also called papa. So here the Vedas, they instruct us regarding both dharma and adharma. They tell us what to do. They also tell us what to not to do, what not to do. So pariharaya, for the sake of being away from that. Pariharaya, being away. Away what? Being away from things which one should not do. Adharma. And doing things which one has to do. Dharma. That is the idea. So here, tayoho chodana lakshanayoho. So among these two, among what? Among these two, among dharma, adharma. Among dharma, adharma. So how you know that this difference? Chodana lakshanayoho, by the characteristic of the particular order. So the particular order says you don't do this, and by that we know that it is that particular order is talking about avoiding a particular adharma, a particular vice. So virtue and vice, moral and immoral, righteous and unrighteous. So when a particular instruction is telling us not to do something, that means we have to understand that is unrighteous conduct. If a particular Vedic statement is saying to is telling to do something, then we know that it is dharma. It is a righteous conduct. It's a righteous karma or righteous action. Artha anarthayoho dharma adharmayoho phale pratyakshe sukha dukhe sharira vangmanobhihi eva upabhujyamane vishendriya sanyoga janye brahmadishu sthavaranteshu prasiddhe. So here what happens? Here chodana lakshanayoho tayoho, of these two, that is dharma and adharma, there are characteristics which are specific to every injunction. That is dharma, injunction telling us to do dharma has some characteristics. An injunction which is telling us to avoid adharma has some characteristics. So artha anarthayoho, for what? For artha, that is good, anarthayoho, for evil. Dharma adharmayoho, of dharma and adharma. Phale, the fruits, pratyakshe, are can be perceived, are perceptible. So what are perceptible? The fruits of dharma and adharma, the fruits of virtue and vice, the fruits of righteousness and unrighteousness. They are very clearly visible. Sukha dukkhe, and there is sukha, pleasure, dukkha, pain. Sharira vang manobhihi eva, and how is this happening? This pain, sukha, dukkha, pain and pleasure, how are they coming? By means of Sharira Vang Manobihi eva. Sharira body, Vang speech or organ of speech, and Manobihi mind also, and mind also. So through the organ of speech, through body and through mind, one gets what? One gets pleasure and pain. One gets sukha dukkha. Upabhujyamane, and these are being experienced. Upabhujyamane, experienced. What is being experienced? This group of dharma, adharma. This group of adharma, adharma is being experienced. Upabhujyamane. These are being experienced by Vishayendriya Sanyoga Janye. They are experienced because of Vishayendriya Sanyoga Janya. Because they are Janya, they are caused by, or they are given birth to by Vishayendriya Sanyoga. Vishaya Indriya, the sense objects. So for eye, it is a particular form. For nose, it is a particular smell. So that is what is that? That is actually the Vishaya Indriya, Indriya Vishaya, the sense objects connected to a particular sense organ. Vishaya Indriya Sanyoga Janye. So what is the Sanyoga? The contact between Vishaya. Vishaya means sense object. Sense object. Indriya means sense organ. So the contact between a sense object and sense organ. This is caused, or this is caused. This particular experience of body, speech, and mind is caused by the contact of a sense organ with the sense object. Brahmadishu, and this is in Sthavaranteshu Prasiddhe. It is well known. It is well known that these things will be there. What kind of the difference between dharma and adharma? Then the pain and pleasure one experiences because of Sharira Vang Manobihi eva Vishayen Upabhujyamane. This because of the experience of all these dharma and adharma by Vishayendriya Sanyoga Janye, by caused by Vishaya Indriya Sanyoga, by the contact of Vishaya, that is sense objects, and Indriya, that is sense organs. And that is happening where? Brahmadishu. Brahma Adishu. It is happening from all the beings starting from Brahma. So Brahma is also a post. It is not that Brahma is Mukta or something. So all beings commencing from Brahma, Sthavara Anteshu, to stationary beings. Sthavara, to stationary beings. Prasiddhe, it is well known. So it is well known. It is well known that this dharma, adharma, everything is there. It is there. These things are there starting from the Brahma and to ordinary living beings, or to sthavaranteshu means actually beings which are stationary, like trees and plants, etc. They are sthavara. They don't move. So they are sthavara. They are comparatively motionless. So stationary. Prasiddhe. It is well known. It is well known. That is the idea. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay. So we will see in the next class, that is day after tomorrow. Shubharatri. Shubharatri.